This woman watched fire take her father, her brother, her mother, and her stepfather, all before she turned 15. Yet she would rise to rule Japan's greatest castle and become the last obstacle to 250 years of Tokugawa rule. Her name was Yodo Dono. Western audiences know her face from the FX series Shogun, the cold, scheming Lady Ochiba. But Lady Ochiba is fiction. The real woman is stranger, sadder, and far more dangerous. She bore a son to the most powerful warlord in Japan. She raised that boy inside the walls of Osaka Castle, and when Tokugawa Ieyasu came for everything they owned, she refused. To bow, to flee, to send her boy to Edo as a hostage. By the final minute of this video, I will show you why the Tokugawa government spent the next 2.5 centuries calling her wicked, and why the evidence tells a far darker story. Her body was never found. To understand the woman, we have to go back to 1569, the year she was born, Chacha. Her mother was Oichi, the celebrated younger sister of Oda Nobunaga, the warlord who would soon conquer half of Japan. Her father was Azai Nagamasa, lord of Odani Castle. In 1570, her father broke his alliance with Nobunaga. 3 years of war followed. In 1573, Nobunaga's army surrounded the family castle. Oichi and her 3 daughters were sent out under truce. Chacha's father and her only brother stayed behind. They died as the castle burned. Chacha was 4 years old. 9 years later, in 1582, Nobunaga himself was murdered by his own general at Hōkō-ji. The power struggle that followed pulled in her mother again. Oichi had remarried, this time to a senior commander named Shibata Katsue. He lost. In 1583, his castle was set on fire. Oichi chose to die with her husband, but before the flames reached her, she sent Chacha and her 2 younger sisters to the man who had just won everything. His name was Toyotomi Hideyoshi. By her early teens, Chacha had watched fire consume every man and woman who had ever protected her. Chacha now lived under the protection of the man who had defeated her stepfather. The relationship was strange and impossible to translate cleanly into modern terms. Hideyoshi became her adoptive father. Then, around 1588, he became something else. She was now his concubine. This was not a small thing. Hideyoshi had a principal wife named Nene. He had other concubines. He had no sons. The succession of all Japan depended on whether any woman in his household could give him an heir. In 1588, Chacha became pregnant. The political earthquake was immediate. Hideyoshi's younger brother remodeled Yodo Castle as a gift for her. From that point on, she was called Yodo Dono, Lady of Yodo. Her first son, Tsurumatsu, was born in 1589 and died 2 years later. Her second son, Hideyori, was born in 1593. Hideyoshi named him heir to all of Japan. To Western viewers, the lines between ward, daughter, concubine, and mother of the heir may seem tangled. In late Sengoku Japan, they were tangled by design. That tangle would later let Tokugawa Ieyasu argue Hideyori's claim was weaker than the official story allowed. In 1598, Hideyoshi died. Hideyori was 5. The boy could not rule. So a council of 5 elders was sworn to protect him until he came of age. The most powerful elder was a man named Tokugawa Ieyasu. Yodo Dono took the Buddhist tonsure in mourning. She took a new name, Daikoin, and founded a temple for the souls of her dead parents. But the political world did not pause for grief. She moved her son to Osaka Castle, the greatest fortress in Japan, and made herself the head of his household. Within 2 years, war returned. The Battle of Sekigahara, 1600. Yodo Dono herself had written to Ieyasu, urging him to put down a rebellion in the east. Ieyasu used that letter as cover. He won Sekigahara, and he claimed every step he took afterward was, in his own words, for the sake of Hideyori. He then proceeded to take the Toyotomi family's land and hand it out as rewards to his own loyal generals. Yodo Dono had been outplayed by a single document she herself had signed. And the cruelest blow, the move that would haunt every page of Japanese history for the next 250 years, Ieyasu had not yet even begun. He was waiting for a bell. By 1603, Ieyasu had taken the title Shogun. The last pretense that he served Hideyori was gone. Yodo Dono refused to let her son travel to Kyoto and bow to him. 8 more years passed in a cold silence. Then, in 1614, the Toyotomi family did something that should have been unremarkable. They paid for the rebuilding of a damaged temple, Hōkō-ji, and cast a great bronze bell for it. The bell's inscription wished for peace, prosperity, and joy in the realm. But Tokugawa scholars looked at the kanji and announced a discovery. The characters of Ieyasu's name, they said, appeared split across the inscription, a deliberate curse. The characters for Toyotomi appeared lower down, a hidden prediction that the old dynasty would rise again. Whether the inscription was a real provocation, a clumsy mistake, or a manufactured excuse, historians still cannot agree. What is certain is what Ieyasu did next. In November 1614, he marched 164,000 men to Osaka. Yodo Dono had written to every major lord in Japan asking for help. Almost no one answered. She paid masterless samurai, ronin, with gold and silver to defend the castle. They fought brilliantly. Sanada Yukimura's earthworks shattered every Tokugawa assault. So Ieyasu changed his tactic. He ordered his cannons to aim, specifically, at Yodo Dono's private quarters. A shell killed 2 of her maids. Another shattered a pillar of her own room. The most powerful woman in Japan, terrified inside her own walls, asked for peace. But the peace would be a trap. The peace treaty was signed in January 1615. Ieyasu sealed it with blood drawn from his own finger. He promised the ronin would not be punished. He promised Hideyori's income would not be touched. He promised Yodo Dono would not be sent to Edo as a hostage. The treaty also allowed Tokugawa workers to fill in the outer moat of Osaka Castle, a minor concession. They filled the outer moat. Then they kept digging. They filled the inner moat too. By spring, the greatest fortress in Japan stood with no defences at all. By April, Ieyasu accused Hideyori of gathering troops again. He gave a single order: abandon Osaka. Yodo Dono and her son refused. The summer campaign of 1615 began. It ended at the Battle of Tennoji. The Toyotomi side had a plan. 55,000 men would strike the Tokugawa center, while a flanking force hit the rear. It should have worked, but the ronin opened fire too early. Sanada Yukimura's signal never came. The coordination collapsed. Sanada was killed. The castle burned. Yodo Dono, Hideyori, and a few survivors retreated into a fireproof keep. Hideyori's wife, Senhime, who was Tokugawa Ieyasu's own granddaughter, left the keep and went to her grandfather to beg for her husband's life. Ieyasu said nothing. The keep was set on fire. On June 4th, 1615, Yodo Dono died. Her body was never found. Because no eyewitness saw the end, and because no body was ever recovered, the rumors started immediately. Some claimed Yodo Dono and Hideyori had escaped to Satsuma in the far south. Others said they were hiding in Utsunomiya in the east. The Tokugawa government took the rumors seriously. An English merchant living in Japan at the time, Richard Cox, wrote in his journal that men were being racked and tortured to confess what they knew. Tokugawa ships searched as far as Formosa and the Ryukyu Islands. The rumors did not die for years. For 250 years afterward, the Tokugawa government wrote the history. They called Yodo Dono wicked, wanton, stubborn, a woman who destroyed her own house through pride. But the evidence tells a different story. She wrote letters seeking peace. She accepted negotiations. She watched her own quarters